Joining me now is Christopher Bedford, senior editor at the Federalist and co-founder of Right Forge. Chris, welcome back. Always so great to see you. We have a lot to talk about today, but first, I want to get your take on this latest White House resignation and the reason Dr. Lander stepped down from his cabinet position.
I'm looking forward to getting some of the details on this, exactly what this bullying was about. The last 2 years have seen an absolute massive rise in bullying across science. And I don't just mean teasing or making somebody feel bad, but the amount of people, the amount of opinions, the amount of teachers, the amount of mothers and parents who've been beaten down or churches closed, all in the name of the science. That's the kind of bullying we've been experiencing from a lot of these federal scientists the last couple of years. So I want to know if there's actual political pressure here. Where we're talking about vaccines, we're talking about boosters, we're talking about different ways to manage the COVID crisis we've been going through in these past couple of years. So before I can really draw too much out of this, I want to know if it was just a mean and hostile work environment, which sometimes does happen, or if this was political bullying or somebody, the scientists in question, Dr. Ladner, maybe not going along with what the White House wanted.
Chris, I want to stay with the Biden administration now. There are reports that a grant program overseen by Health and Human Services will provide funds to make drug use safer. And according to the Washington Free Beacon, those funds will be used for kits that contain pipes for smoking, quote, any illicit substance. Now, this, as we experienced over 100,000 drug overdose deaths last year, a record high. Your thoughts on all of that?
Well, there's no way that anybody could walk outside in any kind of a city in the United States right now, look around them and say, what this country needs is more tolerance for drug addiction, that these people who are drug addicts you see in the street are being properly served. I was reading that, and it seemed like it was absolute parody, a racist joke almost, the idea that crack pipes should be distributed, especially to what they called, quote, underserved communities. By that, they meant black communities. Crack pipes should be distributed to black communities because they are underserved in that department. These measures have been tried before. In nearby Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C., these were tried. The people who pushed back against them were not just police leaders, but also black community leaders who said, hold on a second, we're not underserved by a lack of crack pipes. We're underserved by a lack of police protection. We're underserved by, we're underserved by massive violent crime, especially caused by people who are addicted to drugs. This is just the absolute opposite of reality, and it's a danger to our order and to those people who are addicted to drugs.
Yeah, people need help, and I don't think that's it. On a different note, some Democratic governors are loosening COVID restrictions. Most recently, Delaware and New Jersey announced that they are removing mask mandates in school. Meantime, in Virginia, there's been a lot of backlash for lifting the mask mandate, with some schools still keeping those restrictions in place. Help us unpack all of this.
Absolutely. There's been a pullback for mask mandates and even vaccine requirements in a lot of these states because the polling's coming back. It's not making any sense. Here in Washington, D.C., for example, there are about 60 cases of COVID, yet we still have mask mandates and vaccine policies that are impacting our businesses, impacting our schools, hurting children. You've seen a complete turnaround from some of the even liberal scientists who've been out there in the face of the COVID restrictions saying, well, the science has changed, the science has changed. The science has not changed. The polling's changed. People are upset. Children are suffering. And in Virginia, though, you have an interesting dynamic where a state that may have traditionally, a long time ago, been a red state is now a place where a lot of the federal bureaucracy and a lot of the lobbyists who make a lot of money in D.C. live in Northern Virginia. Those places, those highly politicized, highly legalistic places, are the spots that are pushing back against Governor Youngkin's orders. But the tide of the American public opinion is not with them. 2 years on, it's insane for a 5-year-old to be wearing a mask. A friend of mine trying to put her 1.5-year-old in preschool in Northern Virginia last week was told by multiple schools their 1.5-year-old baby would have to wear a mask. There's no science behind any of this. It's just at this point become a political system, basically a religious talisman that people wear to let people know what side they're on.
Chris, something else I want to talk about happening north of the border here, the Canadian Freedom Convoy, that group of Canadian truckers who oppose vaccine mandates. Talk to us about what happened with their GoFundMe campaign and why they're now using Give, Send, Go. And I understand that Right Forge has also been involved. Tell us about that.
We have. It's been wild to see with the Canadian truckers who are literally protesting for the right to keep their job without the vaccination, which is no longer seemingly even preventing transmission of this disease. That's what this protest is about. We saw unprecedented steps from the Prime Minister, who asked an American tech company, a big tech company, GoFundMe, to seize the funds of a peaceful opposition party and then redistribute them. Now, they backtracked since Governor DeSantis and others have threatened to sue them for what that obviously is, which is theft and fraud. But at the same time, the company Give, Send, Go, a Christian company, has risen up to say we'll help raise the money. They came under threat from big tech. They were attacked by hackers. They've been threatened by the Canadian government. In response, we at RightForge have been working over the weekend to help them scale up their smaller operation, beat back the hacking attacks. We've merged them onto our servers so they can't be canceled by companies like Amazon Web Services, as we saw with Parler. And in the last just 48 hours, they've raised well over $5 million to try and fund this peaceful protest that we're seeing in Canada from truckers, working class and middle class people who don't think COVID policies should mean that they lose their jobs.
Well, Chris, we have to leave it right there. Thank you so much, as always, for your analysis. Always appreciate it.
Thank you.